Hello and thank you for purchasing the quiz Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use it. With this section, you can add a custom quiz to your store to lead your customer to specific products. To get started, let's go to the quiz intro block and we'll see multiple options. The first one is an image, so you can add an intro image like this. Okay, and then we have a title, so you can customize this message. Maybe we can do something like discover your style. And then we have a text block option. Okay, we can do something like that. Next, we have the intro navigation button position. And this is the button to navigate through the different slides. And right now it's the default from section settings. But if you want to move this to a different position from the rest of the items, you can do it using this field. For example, I can select it to be on the top left, top center, top right, bottom left, bottom center, and bottom right. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna leave it as default from section settings. That way, all of them will be controlled through the section settings. And next, we have the same option for mobile, so you can align it differently. Okay, and down here, we have the intro text alignment, which is this right here. So by default, it's on the left, but you can select it to be center or to be right, okay? And the same on mobile, okay? But for now, I'm gonna leave it on the left. And down here, we have an option to center align vertically the media and text within the slide. So that means that this will be aligned to the center of this image. So when this is disabled, this will be on the top, okay? But on this example, I'm gonna leave it on the center like this. Okay, next we have the intro image styling, and the first option is the position. Right now it's on the right, but you can also select it to be on the left or to be above or below. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna leave it on the right. Next, we have the image dimensions. Right now, by default, is the original, so will be the same size as the one that you uploaded, so no resizing. But you can also select it to be landscape, portrait, square, horizontal, or vertical. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna keep it as original. Next, we have the intro image width. So by default is 50%, but you can adjust this to make your image bigger or smaller. But I'm gonna keep it for now at 50. Next, we have the image margin from text. So it's this distance over here. Maybe we don't see it right now because this is on the left, but let's say it's on the right, or maybe the text expands all the way. You can control this distance over here. Okay, so right now it's 30 pixels, but you can increment this to make more room between them. But for now, I'm gonna leave it like this. Okay, and this, I'll keep it on the left. Next, we have the image border radius. And with this, we control the corners of the image. So by default, it's 0. But if you increment this, you can control those curves. You can control those curves like this. Okay, but I'm gonna leave it as 0 for now. Next, we have the image alignment. And this is only available when using above or below. For example, if we have this above, you can control this alignment to be left, center, or right. But for now, I'm gonna leave it left, and actually we can ignore it because I'm gonna leave it on the right, like this. And down here, we have the same for mobile. We have the image position, image width, image margin, and image alignment on mobile. So that's for the intro. Now let's go to the questions. And to go to the questions, we can click one of these and we'll see multiple options. The first one is the question image. So from here, you can select an image. Okay, and then we have a question. So maybe on question, we can add something like this, and you also have a text block, so you can add additional text. So we can do something like that, and then we have some options. And the first one is to start to align the text with the image. So it's the same as the quiz intro. If this is disabled, we'll go to the top, but in this case, I'm gonna leave it at the center, like this. Okay, then you have the answers layout number per row. So right now it's 2, but you can select it to be 1 and up to 4, like this. Okay, so you have that option, but for now I'm gonna leave it at 2. And then you have an option for mobile, so you can adjust that as well. Then you have an option for allowing multiple answers on this quiz question. Okay, so when this is enabled, the users can select more than one. And for this question, I'm gonna keep it enabled. Okay, next we have the text alignment. So by default is on the center, but you can select it to be on the left or on the right. Okay, but I'm gonna keep it center for now. Next, you have the same option for mobile, so you can select a different alignment. Then we have the answers. And for here, we can select something like this. Okay, and you also have an option for adding an image. So it can be an image or an icon. So you can add something like this. Okay, and then we have an option for a selected image. So this is in case you want to change that image. When the user selects that option, you can add a different image in here. So maybe we can do something like this. Okay, so if the user selects that option, it's a different image. So you have that option. But in this case, I'm gonna remove it because I don't need that option. Then we have the answer tags. And this is very important because this is the way we connect this answer with products on your store. Okay, let's say you have a tag called jeans. So you will add here jeans. So that means that when a user select this answer, it will be connected to these tags. Okay, so at the end, we will show products with this tag. Okay, so that's for that answer. And then we can have more answers in here. Answer 2, we can add something like this, and on tags we can add something like this. Okay, and actually on this question I'm gonna remove this image because I want all of them to be just text like this. Okay, let's go to the next one. Maybe on answer 3 we can add something like this and a different tag, but you also have an option for adding multiple tags to the same answer. Okay, so maybe we do something like this. Okay, if you want to connect multiple tags to that answer, so you have that option, but for now I'm gonna keep it with just one like this. And then in here we can add something like this, and on tags we can add something like this. And by default we have 4 answers, but you can select up to 6, or if you need to remove answers, you just remove that answer to leave it like this. Okay, but in this case I'm gonna put it back like this. So those are the answers, and then we have the styling for them. And the first option is the max width. Okay, so by default is 100%, but you can adjust this to have a different size. And when this is less than 100, you can also align the answers. So by default is on the center, but you can also select it to be on the left or on the right. So you have that option. Okay, but for now, I'm gonna leave it at the center. Okay, and then we have the same option for mobile, the max width, and the alignment. Next, we have the question image styling, which is this image over here. And the first option is the image position. So by default, it's on the left, but you can also select it to be on the right, below, or above. For example, we can move it here like that. Okay, so you can select a different alignment for each of the questions. But in this case, I'm gonna leave it on the left. Next, we have the image dimensions, and by default is original, but you can also select it to be landscape, portrait, square, horizontal, or vertical. And maybe on this slide, I'm gonna keep it as square. Next, we have the question image width. By default is 50%, but you can also adjust this, adjust the size of this image. But this is too much. I'm gonna keep it maybe around 40, like this. You also have the image margin from text, and you have the image border radius. So with this, you can control the corners of the image. So if I increment this, you'll see those curves. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna leave it as 0. And then we have the image horizontal alignment, and this is similar to the quiz intro. So this is in case you have it above, you can select it to be left, center, or right. Next, you have the same settings for mobile. You have the position, the width, margin, and horizontal alignment. Next, you have the answers image or icon settings, and this is available when you add an image inside of the answer. So let's say on that first one, we're using an image like this. Okay, and we go back, we'll have this option. And the first one is the image position. So right now it's top, but you can select it to be on the left, on the right, or at the bottom. But maybe for this one, I'm gonna keep it on the left, like this. And right now the text is overflowing because this is 100% the image width. So if we make this smaller, it can fit way better. Okay, so you have that option. Next, we have the image border radius, and maybe in this case, we don't see it because it's an icon. But let's say we have an image instead of an icon. We do something like this, and we go back. With this, we can control those curves. For example, we can do something like this, and you see those curves on the edges, okay? But for now, I'm gonna keep it 0. And down here, we have an option for controlling the image margin from the text. And at the end, we have the same options for mobile. We have the image width, the image margin from text, and the image border radius. Okay, so now I'm gonna add more content to the other questions and speed up the process. Now that I finished adding content to the questions, let's go to the quiz results. And we see multiple options. The first one is what product to show on the results. And by default, it will filter all products with any of these selected tags. For example, if the user selected this and selected this one and select this one, it will show all those products. Okay, but if only the products with all tags is selected, the product to show needs to have that tag and this one and this other one. Okay, so you have that option to show specific products or all products. Next, we have the results image, and this is similar to the other slides, so you can show that image. Next, we have the results title, which is this one over here. We can add something like this, and something like this, okay? Next, we have the empty results block, and this is only visible when no products were found, okay? So you can add your own custom message in here. And down here, we have the preview empty results on customizer. So when this is enabled, you'll see that message over here, okay? So you can turn this on to preview it, okay? But for now, I'm gonna keep it disabled. Next, we have the results navigation button position. And right now it's default from the section settings, so you can control it there. But if you need to move the navigation on this specific slide, you can use this field. For example, you can select it to be at the bottom right and you'll see it over here. But for now, I'm gonna keep it default from section settings, which is at the top right. Okay, next you have the same option for mobile. So I'm gonna keep it as default from section settings. Next we have the results image styling, which is this image over here. And the first option is the image position. So by default is above, but you can also select it to be below like this, or to the left or to the right. Okay, but for now, I'm gonna keep it above. Next, you have the image dimensions, and by default is horizontal, but you can select a different size using this field. And down here, you have the image width, so you can control that width using this field. Next, you have the image margin from text, which is this distance over here, which right now is 30 pixels, but you can increment this to make more room, like this, okay? But I'm gonna keep it at 30. Next, you have the image border radius, so you can control the corners of the image like this. And you also have the image alignment, which is available only if you select above or below. Maybe I'm gonna try to put it on the left on this example and to be portrait. Okay, so we can ignore this because we're using the image on the left. Then we have the same options for mobile, the image position, image width, margin from text, and horizontal alignment. Next, we have the products area styling. And the first option is preview products on customizer. So when this is enabled and you are on the customizer, this will fill the grid with products from your store. Not specifically from the tags, but any product from your store, so you can style the section. So I'm gonna keep it enabled because I want to style this area. Next, we have the products area position, and by default is below text. So this is the text and it's down here, but you can also select it to be above the text. But for now, I'm gonna keep it below text. Then you have the products columns amount. By default, it's 4, but you can adjust this to select the amount of columns. But for now, I'm gonna keep it as 4. Next, you have the gap between products. By default, it's 10 pixels, but if you need to make more room between them, you can adjust this field. But for now, I'm gonna keep it at 10. Then you have the products area margin top, which is this distance over here. So you can increment this to make more room at the top, or this one at the bottom. Okay, but maybe this is too much, so I'm gonna keep it around 30. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have the products area position, columns amount, gap between products, top and bottom margin. Next, we have the product image styling. And the first option is the image dimensions. So you can select your own size using this field. Then you have the product image border radius. So with this, you control these curves around the images. And you also have that option for mobile. Next, we have the product text styling, and we have the text alignment, and by default is on the left, but you can select it to be in the center or to be on the right. But for now, I'm gonna keep it at the left. And you also have an option for mobile. Next, we have the product title styling, and the first option is to show the product title. So when this is disabled, we can hide that title. But for now, I'm gonna keep it enabled. Then we have the color, so you can add your own color. Okay, then we have an option for use custom font. So when this is enabled, you can select a custom font from this list. For example, we can select something like this and use that font. Okay, but you also have a custom font family name, and this is in case you're loading a custom font on your theme. You can add the font family name in here. For example, if you're loading a Helvetica, you can put that name in here and it will grab that font. Okay, but for now I'm gonna leave it clear because I want to use this font. Next, we have the font weight, and with this we can select it to be bold or to be light. Okay, but for now I'm gonna keep it as default. Next, we have the top and bottom margin for the title. So it's 10 pixels from the image, but you can increment this to make more room at the top and at the bottom, like this. Next, we have the font size, line height, and letter spacing, and all of them are 0. So when using 0, it will be the default from your theme, the default size and line height and letter spacing. But if you need to adjust this, you can use this field to have a different size. The same with the line height and letter spacing. And the line height is the vertical distance between the characters. So with this, you can control this distance over here, okay? If I put it very small, you'll see it like this. But on this example, I'm gonna leave it as 0 because I want to use the default from my theme. Okay, then we have the letter spacing, and while the line height is the vertical distance, the letter spacing is the horizontal distance. Okay, so if I increment this, I'll make more room between the characters. But for now, I'm gonna keep it as 0. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have the top, bottom margin, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Next, we have the product price styling. And the first option is to show the product price. So when this is enabled, we're showing it. But if you want to hide it, you just disable it here, and that's it. But on this example, I'm gonna keep it enabled. Next, we have the show from price. And this is in case the product has variants on the price. You can show or hide that from label, okay? And down here, we have an option for customizing that label, okay? So you can add something like this. But in this case, I'm gonna keep it as from. Next, we have the product price color. So in case you want to change the color, we can add something like this. Next, we have the same styling settings. So you have a custom font family name, font weight, okay, top and bottom margin, font size, line height, and letter spacing. So if you want to change it, you can use these fields, okay? Next, we have the same settings for mobile, top and bottom margin, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Next, we have the compare at price styling. And this is in case you're using a compare on your product price. Okay, so you can select a color. Maybe we can add something like this. And also the font size and the font size of mobile. Okay, but for now, I'm going to keep it as default. And this, I'll keep that gray. Next, we have the alignment for the text results, which is this one right here. So by default, it's center, but you can select it to be on the left or the right. And the same with mobile. Next, we have the title styling, which is this one over here. Okay, so we have the same text styling options. We have the color. Maybe we can add something like this and use a custom font and make the font bigger. So you can customize that look. Then you have the same options for mobile. You have the top and bottom margin, the font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, next we have the styling for the text block, which is this one right here. So we can add a different color for the text block and also a different one for the empty results. So if we enable this, we'll see that red color. But for now, I'm gonna keep it disabled like this. Okay, let's go back. Okay, and you have the same options, custom font, font weight, top and bottom margin, font size, line height, and letter spacing. So maybe this one can be a little bigger, maybe like this, and actually the color can be darker, like this. And down here, we have the same options for mobile. We have the top and bottom margin, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, now that we finish with the slides, let's go to the section settings to style a section. Okay, now in the section settings, we see multiple options. And the first one is to display or hide that section header. I'm gonna keep it enabled. And on section title, I'll add some custom text. Okay, on the text block, something like this. Okay, next we have the navigation settings. And the first option is the minimum height of quiz. So by default is 0, okay? And when using 0, the height of the slide will be dynamic depending of the height of the active slide. For example, this slide right here is taller, okay? So the quiz will expand automatically to that height, okay? But if we adjust this, for example, if we select it to be 90%, all the slides will have that minimum height. So you're adding this height to all slides. But on this example, I'm gonna keep it as 0 because I want to keep the height dynamic. Next, you have the same option for mobile, so you can adjust it, okay? And down here, we have the navigation animation. By default is fade, so it will look like this, okay? But you can also select it to be slide. And when using slide, it will move over to that next slide like this, okay? So you have that option. But for now, I'm gonna keep it as fade. Next, we have the navigation type. And by default is lines, this right here, but you can also select it to be dots or none. Anyway, you still have these other buttons, so you can also select none, okay? But let's use dots for now, like this. Okay, next we have navigation position, and right now it's bottom left, but you can align it to any of the corners, including the center. For example, I can put it bottom center or top center, okay? So you have that option. But for now, I'm gonna keep it as bottom left. Next, we have the navigation margin top, which is this distance over here. So right now it's 10 pixels, but if you increment this, you'll make more room at the top. The same at the bottom. If I increment this, I'll make more room down here. But for now, I'm gonna keep it at 10 on both. Next, we have the navigation button color. Okay, so it's this one right here. Okay, so we can adjust that color, maybe something like this. And then we have the active, and maybe on active, we can add a color. Okay. Next, we have the navigation dot size, and this is only available when using dots, so you can control that size. Right now it's 20 pixels, but you can increment this to make those dots bigger. But maybe that's too much. I'm gonna keep it there. You also have an option for controlling the gap between those dots. So right now it's 10 pixels, but you can increment this to make more room. Next, we have the navigation's line width. So this is only available when using lines. So let's switch. Okay, and with this, we control this size. So right now it's 20 pixels, but if we increment this, we'll make the lines bigger. Next, we have an option for expanding those lines across the whole section. Okay, so when this is enabled, we'll stretch those lines like this. So you have that option. Okay, next we have the line's height. So right now it's 4 pixels, but you can make them taller using this field. Okay, maybe that's too much. I'm gonna keep it like this. Okay. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have the navigation position, top and bottom margin, gap between buttons, navigation lines width, option for expanding them, and the line's height. Next, we have the navigation buttons, and those buttons are this right here. And we have these options for the label. For example, this is for starting the quiz, so you can add your own label. Maybe we can add something like this. And if we go here, we see this other two, which is previous and next. So you can also customize these labels and the one for starting over. So you have those options. Let's go back. Okay, and then we have the styling settings for those toggles. And the first option is the button position. So right now it's top right, but the same as the other navigation, you can align it to other corners of the section. But I really like it at the top right, so I'm gonna keep it there. And remember that the quiz intro and the quiz results have their own options for aligning the navigation. If you see here, we have default from section settings. So we're controlling it from the section settings. But if you need to align this differently, for example, that first one to be on the top left, you can move it using this field. Okay, the same with the quiz results. But for now, I'm gonna keep it default from section settings. Let's go back to the section settings. Okay, next we have the top and bottom margin, so you can make more room in here, like this. Okay, maybe that's too much. Okay, next we have the gap between navigation buttons. And right now we don't see it because we only have one, but if we go to the next one, it's this gap over here between them. Okay, so you can increment this to make more room between them, like this. Next we have the navigation button border width. Right now it's 0, but if you increment this, you'll add a border to the button. Right now, we don't see it because we don't have colors yet, but if we scroll down and add colors using the navigation button colors, let's say that the text color is white, background color to be this color, and the border color to be this color, you'll see that border. Let's go back. So you can control the border width using this field. Next, we have the vertical and horizontal padding. And while the margin is the outside distance, the padding is the inside distance. So for example, both are 0, but if I increment this, I'll make vertical room in here. The same with horizontal, like this. Okay, maybe this is too tall, a little less, like this. Okay, and then we have an option for the border radius. So with this, we can control the curves of the button, maybe a little more. Next, we have an option to add an underline on the navigation button. So you can use this to add that line at the bottom. Okay, maybe that looks better when it's not styled as a button, like without a background color and without border color. Okay, so you have that option. But for now, I'm gonna keep it disabled because I really like this button look. Next, we have the custom font option. So you can add a custom font like this. And we have the same text styling settings as the other elements. So we have custom font, the font weight, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, so maybe on font size, it can be something like this. Okay, line height is fine and letter spacing. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have the button position, top and bottom margin, gap between buttons, vertical and horizontal padding, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, and the first option is the text color, which I already changed. Okay, you have the background color and you have the border color. Next, we have an option for the previous button. For example, if we go to the next slide, this previous is different. So that's in case you want to use a different color, you can use this. For example, we can do this and on previews to make it look like this. So you can style that previous button differently, okay? But for now, I'm gonna keep it the same with white and blue background. Let's see. And also the dark border. Next, we have the hover colors. And this is when a user puts the cursor on top of the button, you can change that color. Okay, for example, on hover, we can select it to be the same dark color like this. And maybe the border can be blue, like this. Next, we have the quiz area styling. And the first option is the background color. Okay, so we can add a background color to it using this field. Something like this. Okay, so this will add color only on the quiz area, not the whole section. Then we have the border radius, so you can control those corners like this. Okay, and then you have the padding, so we can add more room like this. Next, we have the same settings for mobile. We have top, bottom, and horizontal padding. Okay, and we also have a margin for the text, which is this right here on mobile. Next, we have the question title styling, and the question title is the titles of these slides over here. Okay, so we can update this to add a different color, something like this, maybe a different font, something like this, and the font size to be bigger, like this. So you have these options. Next, you have the same for mobile, the margins, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Next, we have the answer settings. And the first option is if slide has only one answer, auto advance after selection. For example, so when this is enabled and you click on an answer, it will go automatically to the next slide without having to click next, okay? Like this, okay? So you have that option. I'm gonna keep it enabled for now. Next, we have the answer border width, which is this right here, okay? So right now it's 1 pixel, but we can select it to be thicker. Actually, for now, I'm gonna hide this intro because I want to see the answers. Okay, next we have the border radius, which is the corners of it. So if we increment this, we'll add that curve. Next, we have the vertical and horizontal padding, which is the inside distance. Okay, so you can control this to make more room vertically or horizontally. Okay, but maybe this is too much. I'm gonna keep it like this, and actually the border can be a little less. Next, we have the answer color, which is that text over here. Okay, so right now it's this color, but you can select your own colors, okay, using this field. And then you also have the background color. So right now it's transparent, but you can select a different one. But actually I'm gonna keep it like this because I want to apply the color on hover or on click. Next, we have the selected answer settings, and this is when a user hovers or selects an answer, so you can change the styling. So you can adjust the border width, the border color. So maybe in border color, we can do something like this. You can also adjust the background color and the text color. But for now, I'm gonna keep it the same blue. Okay, next we have the section styling, and the first option is the section width. So by default is full width with a content max width right now of 1500. So that means that the section will expand all the way, but the content will remain in this size. Maybe we don't see it right now because we don't have a background color, but if I add a background color to the section like this, and we expand this, we'll see that the section expands all the way, but the content remains in here, okay? But you also have an option to use real full width. So when this is enabled, this will be ignored. For example, if I expand this, you'll see the content expanding all the way across the screen. Okay, so you have that option. But for now, I'm gonna keep it without real full width because I want to limit my content. Okay, so that's when using full width, but you can also use regular width. And when using regular width, this content max width will be the max width of the whole section. If I expand this, you see that the section is no longer expanding all the way. It stays on the content max width. But for now, I'm gonna keep it full width with this on 1300. Next, we have the section background color, so you can change it here. Okay, and you also have the border radius. And with this, we control the corners of the section. This right here. Okay, but for now, I'm gonna keep it 0. Then we have the section top and bottom margin, and with this we control the outside distance of the section, okay, at the top and at the bottom like this. Then we have the section horizontal margin, and this is only available when using regular on section width. Let me show you. If we use this on 0, and let's say we have the content max width to be 1500, so it's very big like this. With this field you can control this margin over here. So right now it looks on small screens like it's a full width section, but it's not because we select the regular. So with this, you can add that margin outside the section like this. Okay, so you have that option. But for now, we can ignore it because I'm using full width. Next, we have the section top, bottom, and horizontal padding. And this controls this distance over here at the top and the bottom and horizontal. So if I increment this, I'll make more room inside the section. Next, you have the same settings for mobile. You have top, bottom, and horizontal margin, top, bottom, and horizontal padding. Next, we have the section header styling, and the first option is the header position. So right now, by default, is inside the wrapper, but you can also select it to be outside the wrapper. But outside the wrapper is only available when using regular on section width. So you see that it's outside the color background. Okay, so you have that option to put it outside or inside. Okay, but for now, we can ignore it because I'm using full width and I can just keep it inside. Okay, next we have the section header max width. So right now by default is 100, but you can adjust this to make it smaller like this. So maybe around here. Next we have the section title styling, and the first option is the alignment. So you can select it to be on the left, center, or right. Okay, but I'm gonna keep it center for now. And you have all the text styling options. You have the color, so maybe we can add this and use a custom font and font size to make it bigger, something like this. And then we have the same settings for mobile. We have the margins, the alignment, the font size, line height, and letter spacing. And then we have the same styling settings for the text block. So we can style this to maybe like light gray and adjust the font size, something like this. And actually on the title, we can add a different color, something like this. Okay, let's go back. Okay, and down here we have the same styling settings for mobile. We have the alignment, margins, and font styling. Okay, and at the very bottom we have section class, and this is for advanced users and is useful in case you're sharing styling between sections. You can add here that class name without the dot. For example, let's say we're using a class called red border and that all sections with red border have this styling. Okay, so you can add that section class in here. Okay, but for now we can ignore it because I'm not using any classes. We can leave it like this. Okay, so now I'm gonna test the quiz. So I'm gonna put this back and save and open this on a new tab. Okay. Okay, it's working great. Let's go back. And that's it. Thank you again. If you have any questions or if you run into any issues, please don't hesitate to contact us via the support page on our website. Thank you and take care.